31. We are ready to commence. Thank you very much for coming to this session on iPads. I bet you're all curious to find out what you can do with this fabulous, magical, and sometimes complicated but not device. So, iPads, who needs them? Now this is special because this presentation will be done entirely on the iPad. So it's not a PowerPoint with a PC or anything like that. And secondly, it's not going to be focused on using the PowerPoint tool as a way to demonstrate it. I'm actually going to be using it as a tool as if I was standing in a class lecturing about various things about the iPad. So this is actually a case in point of how I would perform and use it, switch between the different apps, do some demonstrations, and then basically teach you how to become a power user. So my name is Nai Wang, and I'm going to switch over to a quick little video, which is actually one of my most embarrassing moments because it was the first time I did really any kind of large public speaking. It was when I was at the ACT conference in front of 5,000 educators. So let me switch over to that and watch this.
Sponsor this morning's speaker, who I know you're going to enjoy. Indulge me for just a minute, please. Welcome the founder and president of KD Education Systems, Nai Wang.
So this was 4 or 5 years ago, back when I was younger. When I was a kid. Now that I'm KP. You can see I'm very nervous.
Knowledge in practice. I'm Nai Wang, founder and president of KD Education Systems, and I have devoted my entire adult life to the pursuit of furthering.
Okay, so I'm standing up there going, why? Because it's letting me. Then I had that moment of clarification. And I went, oh. I see now. Look at that baby face. Kind of weird standing on right next to you. Did you like an iPad?
Furthering education through technology. KP is proud to sponsor Chef Jeff Henderson. We share in his personal passion to fight for what is right, to provide opportunity for all through knowledge and practice. KP is dedicated to that. Thanking Chef Jeff for being an inspiration to us. More importantly, I would like to thank you, the devoted CTE educators. Without people like you, reaching people like me, the ones who didn't perfectly fit the academic model, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today. Please give yourselves a round of applause.
So, you guys give yourselves a round of applause. And then shake hands, I walk off stage, realize I'm going in the wrong direction. There we go. So I show that because one, it's funny. Two, it just kind of illustrates an error occurred. Wonderful. Gotta love technology, especially when you're using experimental technology like this. Because I'll be showing you how I'm accomplishing this wirelessly, which you're probably wondering how during this presentation. So, yeah, I use that video because it's funny, like making fun of myself. And secondly, it tells you that I'm not of the I'm not like Harvard grad, MIT, yada yada yada. I was actually the average student. I gravitated toward career tech ed because I was born in school, and I'm actually English as a second language. So you can see that I have horrible speech problems because I was made in Taiwan, and yeah, I have to stand right here. and because of that, I had problems learning in school. I couldn't read very well, and I was able to overcome it by gravitating towards computer technology and really applying that energy. I was also a very hyperactive kid, and I didn't have the wherewithal, my parents didn't have the wherewithal to be able to take me to a psychiatrist to put me on drugs. Thank goodness, because if I was diagnosed with ADHD and they put me on drugs, I wouldn't be able to take my my biggest deficiency and turn it into my biggest asset, which is the ability to look at and see the world and take on information from multiple sources simultaneously and process it. And I'm only illustrating that because back then, many years ago, a couple years ago, right? It wasn't as common as it is now. So I was a little ahead of the curve with that problem, and I've overcome it. And now we're dealing with kids in our education system who are just like me in mass robes, and we're trying to figure out how to engage them. And we're here with the intent to look at these devices as a tool to create engagement, and to be able to use this tool as a bridge to be able to help give them an outlet for their energy and to engage them and so they can be creative and then eventually become successful and hopefully start a company like me. So that's why, and that's my little introduction. So, oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do this. Okay, so who needs them? I do, because this is how I interface with the world. This is how I work with it. And in fact, before the iPad, I can't imagine my life without it. Which is really sad, because I lived all these years and I didn't have it. I still had computers, but when this device came out, it really transformed things. So I want to first see who's here. Who here are secondary educators? Just raise your hand. Okay, great. About half the room, and then the other half should be post-secondary, or a third. Okay, so where's the math there? And then anybody here actually implement iPads in the classroom, like you're using it as a lecture tool or as a you have an iPad card or something like that. 1, 2, 3. 3, great. Last session, yesterday, I had about 2 people, and it was a much fuller room than today at the last day of the conference. So, and actually, it's going to grow more and more. And a lot of people are trying to figure out, like, how do we justify the cost? Is this toy, a lot of people consider it a toy and a fad right now, worth it? And I'm here to tell you that if you properly have a proper strategy, you can totally justify this device as a tool to be able to engage your students. So, it's my reminder to switch to my graphics. So, all right, here. What we have here is what I call the 7 levels of tablet knowledge. So this is a way to kind of break down the different levels of thought process as we dive into working with this device. So we start out with level 0, and I started with level 0 because I usually start with level 1, and I realized that, okay, well, level 1 is good, but there's certain things that I always forget to talk about, so I kind of want to back it up a bit. Then we have level 1. So level 0 talks about like the practical, which is actually the accessories and things that make your lives a lot easier. Level 1, obvious uses and obvious tips that will make your lives a lot easier using this tablet. I'm going to give you some really great things to help you use this device and make it comfortable to use rather than cumbersome. Now level 2, the app. Now a lot of people focus on level 2 because they just think the app is the solution. And I'm going to just jump ahead on one of the future slides, but since I'm on this topic, the apps are great. I call them like, unitaskers. So they're there, they usually are designed to solve a single problem, and then people have lists of things. There's like tons and tons of apps in the App Store, and a lot of them are unitaskers. What I'm going to be focusing on are multitaskers, apps that can be used for a purpose and have broader implications for it. So I'm going to give you a list of apps that can be used for that, and you can use it both personally and professionally. So that's the app level, and I like to use the unitasker and multitasker analogy. If anybody hear other people talk about it, the most famous person that talks about it is Alton Brown on Good Eats. So anybody here watch Alton Brown? Yeah, you hear him say that a lot. Get the multitasker. You don't want to have devices in your kitchen that take up space, but in this case, it's digital transformation of that. Then we have level 3, which is creative web apps. Basically, web apps are apps that do not need to be installed, and that means that you can use it on multiple devices. So you don't have to be married to one device, one platform, one style. So we have a lot of people who use BYOD, not BYOB, although I'm sure one on this Friday afternoon are thinking about that. But a lot of people bring different devices. So how do you synchronize the use case for that when you have an iPhone, an Android phone, maybe a Windows device and a laptop How do you work with that? So level 3 creative web apps addresses that, and this area is growing tremendously now. Level 4, the imaginative. Basically, this is a mindset where you're actually going into the apps and you're using it for more powerful applications than before. And I'll be showing you some level 2, which can be bridged into level 4. And then level 5, which is the unexpected. So those are like the aha moments. You're using an app and all of a sudden you're tinkering around with it or something occurs. You're like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. That's when you're playing around and you're making it happen like that. And I have a good example of that actually on the flight over here. Level 6, the tech savvy. So that's where the programmers and the geeks like us lay. And then level 7, I only put that there because nobody could achieve it. It's the ludicrous level. Anybody here remember ludicrous speed? All right, I got a few chuckles. Spaceball, 1980s movie, really funny. It's a Star Wars spoof. Okay, anyway, moving on. So this kid here, this is me, when I was a kid. No, just kidding. There's just a Google image of a random kid born in high school that's Asian looking. So, I wasn't engaged in school. And many kids aren't engaged in school. So when this thing came out, the Commodore PET, now this kind of dates me a little bit. I was crawling on it, I'm kidding. The PET came out, and it gave me the ability to do stuff with the device. And in this case, I was actually able to type in and numbers would come up, and I was able to write some like basic commands using BASIC. And it really gave me the realization that the physical world space isn't limited, and I can think creatively within this space. I'm bringing these pictures up here in the next sequences to kind of justify, why the tablet here has been so revolutionary. Because 40 years ago, a man named Gene Roddenberry had a show called Star Trek, and I'm a big Star Trek geek. And he imagined a device, or besides flying in space, that people could hold in their hand and could do multiple things. And back then, that was totally novel. Science fiction meets reality. To the point where now, this is Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation. We have Jean-Luc Picard here holding an iPad-esque looking device. I'm sure Apple tried to sue them for that, right? Okay, so then we fast forward to the 1990s and these things come out. First realization of mobile computing. We call them bricks. 15 minutes on battery life, you have to plug it in, you could do some simple operation, but it was the beginning of mobile computing. Then we move on to this device, something handheld. It was great because you could keep your grocery store list on it and your contacts, but not many people used it beyond that because it was difficult to use. You had to use their handwriting style, and it wasn't fully realized. Then in the mid 2005, these came out, tablet computers. Now, when this came out, I was so happy because I was able to interface for the very first time with my computer on the screen using a pen, just like Star Trek. In fact, I even held it up in the air and said, "This is Star Trek in my hands," and everyone made fun of me. But this was great. But the only problem was it ran an antiquated operating system called Windows XP, and because of that, that limited the possibilities of what this device could do. Then, a few years later, this came out and changed everything. The iPhone. Now, it's more than just the iPhone. It was the approach that they took. They took a completely touch interface. And with that fundamental philosophical change, we've turned a device where you're using a digitized pen, a mouse, and a keyboard to something you're touching. And that creates that certain level of human interaction that makes these devices more effective than any kind of computing device we've ever had. We have laptops. We've had laptops for years. We have tons of software for laptops for various solutions. But the kids don't engage with it like they do with these devices. It's not because they're new and it's a fad. It's because we have that touch aspect. Then, fast forward a few years later, we have tablets, iPads, while you're here. And then we have other tablets, such as this Motorola Zoom, one of the very first Android tablet devices. So, what I want you to think leaving here today is, and we have to pay homage to Steve Jobs. The man, the visionary, the guy who really wanted to change the world, and he literally did. Okay, so what I want you to do today is to think of your tablet as your Swiss Army knife of endless possibilities. I'm going to teach you to use a few of these tools, which are multitasking tools. But then I'm going to show you and lead you to the waters where you could actually find the single unitasker tools to be able to find solutions for your specific needs in your profession. So with that, actually let me switch back to Keynote and move on. Okay, so back here, this is a reminder for me to slow down. I tend to go a little fast. I'm trying to cover as much ground as possible. We also want to see if there's any opportunities for you to share your knowledge. So sometime during this presentation, especially during the app portion, if you have an app that works really well, I want you to share it. But the most important thing is I want you to change your mindset and dispel the myth that these are not phones and these are not PC. This is truly a post-PC world. So, but the thing I wanted to make perfectly clear is that we're all forging a new path. We're all pioneers traveling together in this unknown space. And there are no such things as experts in this field right now. People can say I'm an expert, but I don't consider myself an expert at all. I'm just a person who has traveled a lot, talked to many educators, seen a lot more perspective than other people, but I'm by no means an expert on tablet and tablet implementation. We're all trying. I'm learning from other people, people are learning from me, and we're all getting together, and maybe I'll become an expert in 20 or 30 years when I get a little older, right? But there are no experts, and nobody can claim that right now. Okay, so our goal is, like I said earlier, to lead you to the water drink, but also to make you comfortable with the device. The more comfortable you are with it, the more apt you're going to use it. The more apt you're going to use it, the more you're going to be able to integrate it into your life. And we're going to focus on multitaskers, not unitaskers. And then the biggest thing is, like I want to say is, I'm not just going to give you a fish and you're going to use it and eat from it. I'm going to teach you how to fish, and everyone knows the parable there, so that you can become effective. Oh yeah, and lastly, I want to make sure to let you know that I am not an Apple sales rep. In fact, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm going to tell you things to buy, which I think are really useful, but I'm not selling you anything because I don't even own stock in Apple. I wish I bought some. Okay. Then the next, because my primary focus is learning management system development. So what I did was develop a cloud-based curriculum that requires no apps. And because of that, that keeps me focused on technology and education. And that's where I can claim that I am an expert at that. So the focus with how I do this is using a concept-driven mastery system. So we call it ARMS, Automatic Remediation and Mastery System. And the only way I do make money, just in case if you're curious, is I have a curriculum in culinary arts that students use online in the classroom, food science, and facts, food and nutrition for the middle school level. Actually, it also works in the post-secondary level as well. And I've been doing this for over 15 years. So this is my focus, but the technology I developed was a byproduct of that focus. So I showed this to the group of people earlier on, but this entire presentation is placed in a student learning system. So this is the site you would go to sign up. I know that many of you use like Edmodo or Moodle or Blackboard, so it's kind of similar to that. But in this case, we're actually using our own homegrown product to be able to deploy the information to you. So you're going to be logging in. So when you go to the site, you'll see this. You can log in using one of these email addresses if you have one. So if you have a Google account, just click on this, you can log right in. If you don't have any of these accounts, then you can click down here and just create an account, a very generic account. Don't worry, we won't email you, spam you. This is a student portal, so we don't do any of that kind of stuff. You just get in, you're ready to go. The only key that you need after you get there is this. 6DMT0 or O, doesn't matter, TQ. That's the class code. And when you enter the class, you'll be able to access the content. Let me just give you a quick preview of what the class would look like. Going to the, okay, let's go close that. Okay, so when you get it, oops, that's not it. So here we are. So basically, this is the class. These are modules. So we start with iPads now what? Then we're going to go over level 0, level 1. Actually, this is the first session, so on and so forth. Then the next module will be level 0 and 1, where we cover various things. various accessories, and talking about level 1. Then we go into level 2, so you can see up there level 2, and here's a list of very useful apps that you can click on, you get directly taken to the App Store. It's very useful. And then we have, so this is the overview. So these are the actual modules. And actually you see this, we activated this yesterday, and somebody actually took a test in our system, and we got some people who didn't do very well in level 3. So actually there's a testing system in here too. So you can actually take a little test and then see how well you do, and it'll tell you which pages to go back to study. But the thing is, if you want to, we actually added a complete module down here so you can try it out. And we'll actually learn how to cook eggs. They're fun. Oh, actually, and we also added knife skills too, so you can learn how to cut stuff. All right, so that's the learning system. So let's go ahead and talk about level 0. So with level 0, the very first thing I want you to think about is the bag. Now, I see a lot of people spending a lot of money on sophisticated iPad bags. And they don't have to be very sophisticated. In fact, my bag I keep with me all the time, right here next to me. So this bag is actually not an iPad bag. It's a European travel satchel that I've had for the past 6 years, so predates iPads. And when I got the iPad, I was like, hey, I wonder if this will fit. It slips right in. And so if I want to get to it really quickly, I can just pull it out really quickly. And the thing is, I don't use a case on it either. So you got to think, these things are really durable, they're robust, and I haven't scratched my screen by pulling it out. And there are zippers on it too. So they're very durable, and I don't like cases because it bulks it. So I can pull it out, I can look at it, and then I can go. So that's convenience right there. And if you're really good, you can pull it out, you can go really fast. Oh gosh! I didn't practice that very well. Oh. All right, another one down the drain. Fortunately, it's a prop. I got it, I had to throw it out there. Okay, with that, I'll never actually handle an iPad like that. So with the real iPad, bags are important. Just so anything that could cover it. The next one is really cool. It's an iPad stand. Now this is overkill. This is something that probably costs about $150, and who the heck would buy something like that? And I see a lot of people spending a lot of money, $20, $30, $40 for an iPad stand. Let me show you an iPad stand that is much better than all those. Now this thing, you probably can't see it here, is an iPad stand. Now does anybody recognize what this is? Actually, I'll do it this way. Yes, I hear it. Picture frame holder. So let me use the iPad as this is a level 1 application of it, by the way. So here is me holding it. Oops. Actually, I need to get someplace where it's light. There you go. So here it is. Now you can see it, right? It's just a simple little picture frame holder. $2, Joanne Fabrics. Collapses really nicely to a small little footprint. Holds it really well. Extremely useful on the planes when you have no leg room and you want to use your iPad and hold it up. So that's just simple things like that. And if it breaks, and I've actually broken a few, you toss it and you get a new one. So it's really nice. Or if you lose one, which I have done as well, you do that. So that's the stand. Really cool, $2. You don't have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to hold your iPad. Now the next accessory, which is also very important to have, especially since you're educators, is the keyboard. Now I like this keyboard because it's thin. It's also very well built. It's like made out of aluminum. There's also a lot of manufacturers. $70, it's not bad. It's really great for keyboarding on, but the virtual keyboard is good. And what I like about it is that it's not permanently attached to it. And a lot of people depend on it, but the fact of the matter is I don't use the keyboard very often unless I have 10 meetings or I'm writing a novel, which I never do, or go to conferences where I need to take a lot of notes. But in a pinch, I can use the keyboard really well. I can actually type about 80 words a minute on it. And the trick to using the virtual keyboard well is to not look at it if you're a touch typist. Because what it does is it figures out what you're trying to hit instead of what you actually hit, and it'll change the word to what you mean instead of some crazy gobbledygook. So think about that. When you type, don't look at it. Give it a try. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you get used to it, you'll be like flying right through it. You might get a few words wrong, but it's better than not having to have a keyboard. But those are small, and it's easy to slip in your bag, or a lot of people affectionately call this my, oh, I gotta say. Okay, so it's man curse, right? So, or MERS. Okay, so this next one is good. This is called the camera connection kit. $30. You can actually buy it refurbished now for $20 from Best Buy. What it does is if you have one of those old-fashioned digital cameras, I know nobody has one anymore since we all have cell phone cameras, right? You can take a picture, you can stick your SD card right into this slot here, or if you have a memory card, you can stick it in here, or like a little cable connecting your computer, and it actually imports the pictures right into your photo gallery. So if you're out on a field trip, you take a lot of pictures with your SLR or your digital camera, and they stick it in here, put it in here, and everyone can look at it on a larger screen. It's really good, really useful piece of tool. Now this one is very important because if you want to use it to do any type of presentation, this is the Vga cable. And what it does is it hooks up to your iPad, and you can hook it up to your projector. I think it's a $30 accessory, $20 refurbished, last I saw. And you can actually do what I'm doing right now, but you're hooked up with a cable. Another one is this one. This one's a little more expensive. It's the HDMI cable. So instead of hooking it through VGA, you can hook it up through an HDMI. Note that this is iPad 2 or higher. So if you have an iPad 1, you can't use this. So the advantage of the HDMI is that if you have an LCD with HDMI inputs, or if you have a big screen television, a HD TV, you can plug this in and it pipes audio through it too, so you don't have to do a separate audio cable. But the downside is that in schools, we don't all have big screen TVs or projectors with an HDMI input. So this isn't as practical as the other cable there. Now this device here that I'm standing right in front of, this is called the Apple TV. Now the Apple TV allows me to interface from my iPad to the device, and then the device is connected to an HD television. So here's the HDMI port, and then basically you just plug it in, and you can wirelessly transmit the image just like how I am doing right now. Very useful. It's only $100. So when you think about it, that's not bad for an accessory, and it's actually technically designed to be used as a television. So you can actually log into YouTube, to Netflix, and other type of entertainment. Of course, at school, all those things are probably blocked, but that's what it was originally designed for. But the problem again is HDMI, right? You all don't have HDMI projectors. So prior to, this has been out for about a year now, and prior to that, it still wasn't practical because you didn't have a way to interface this box to the projector. And if you wanted to convert the HDMI to VGA, it would cost you about $300 to buy a very sophisticated video conversion that's professional use. So recently, about 4 months ago, a company called CanX, and actually this is part of the website, built this box here, which is kind of dark. There we go. That interfaces from the HDMI to the VGA. And here's the audio output here too. So now, this device, and it transfers the video data and translates it to this format, and only for $60. So now it's practical to do this kind of setup. And they also do it, surprisingly, without power. Everything else required power, so you had to plug in something else to a power strip and make it possible. So very useful. Okay, so that's level 0. Well, actually, I was going to show you a couple more things I forgot about. The charger. Now this charger here, this here is a multi-USB charger. So you can see it plugs in, and I can actually charge up to 4 devices at once because I'm a total electronics junkie. So instead of carrying 4 different chargers, I can actually carry 1, and I can charge 4 devices. But the key to these other devices is that you have to do the math. So I don't know if you can see that there. It's telling you how much each USB can hold if you plug in so many devices. This has a 2,000 milliamp capacity. So you can think about it this way. iPads use 1,000 milliamps. iPhones use 500 milliamps. So if you have 2 iPads on here, you max it out. If you have 1 iPad and 2 iPhones, then you max it out. Or it doesn't have to be iPhones, but so you can do the math. Same thing, here's a car charger. Now each of these, I bought them from Amazon, and I found places that sold them for about $8. So they don't even have to be very expensive. If you go to Best Buy, you'll probably pay $30 or $40 for it, something like this. But I caution you because you have to look at the rating. So some of these only do 500. So if you plug an iPad in, it won't charge. So you've got to make sure to read the numbers for these devices. All right, so that's level 0. I always ask whenever I do level 0 if it was a useful bit, because I know everyone wants to get right into the apps and the applications, but I thought level 0, these practical things are useful. So yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. No? Okay, nobody wants to admit it. All right. So that's level 0. Now, level 1, the obvious. Now this is basically some obvious tips. Did I get louder all of a sudden? It seems like I did. Level 1 is basically some really quick tips to make your lives a lot easier where you're using this device. So if you can tell, I was actually swiping between applications without having to go to the home screen, right? Did you guys notice that? Now that is actually a very simple trick. All you do is you take 4 or 5 fingers, put it onto the iPad screen, and you swipe it. Yes, and actually I just changed video mode, so no, I'm not kidding. Really, this is so. Here's the. I'm swiping to most of the videos. I don't watch that anymore. And I'm swiping to another app. Here's Pages. So, and then here's a website. So that's just a quick little trick to. And I'm trying to remove the internet. This is the website. So yeah, just like that. If you want to go back, swipe the other direction. There we go. You see, back and forth. Okay. Yeah, those are open apps in a sequence. Now, if I wanted to get my taskbar up, normally I would double tap on the home key, like so. Boom, boom. There we go. Now, instead of double tapping on the home key, I could actually take 5 fingers and swipe up. There we go, just like that. Very easy. I mean, just these simple little things can make you look like a pro, like me. So you can say you're an expert now. Okay, so besides doing that, here's another cool thing. Let's close this app. Hit the home key, or let's take our 5 fingers and squeeze it out of existence. There we go. That's another way. So that way you don't have to keep hitting that button anymore. That is a very quick little trick that you can go back and forth between things and look like a pro. So that's the let's go up here. Now, 5 finger swipe, or 4 finger, that's it. Well, maybe we call it a 5 finger discount, right? All right, so now we have our taskbar down here. And if we take it and we slide it in this direction, you can see that the control panel pops into the side here. Now, when I hooked up my Apple TV, this little button appeared because it detected my Apple TV on the same wireless network. I forgot to mention that the Apple TV only works if you're on a Wi-Fi. So you have to have a Wi-Fi setup. In this case, I have a personal hotspot in my man purse that actually is transmitting between these 2 devices. So I'm probably being irradiated right now over here. So when I have cancer a couple years, you know why. So this control panel allows you to do various things. You can actually control the volume from down here, so the little button, or you can change the brightness. Of course, this one, you can't see any difference with that. You can also mute it. This is also the media play control, so if you were watching a video or doing something, you could play and pause it doing that. And down here in this corner, it shows the last media element you use. So very simple little trick here. Another one that's really important that I find that nobody changes really is this thing. Now, whenever you rotate your iPad, it changes, right? And it gets a little annoying. So you see mine's locked, and you know how to lock it, right? Actually, in your case, you wouldn't see the music icon here. You would actually see a little rotation icon, right? That's how you lock it. Now, I'm going to show you how to make it so that you can quickly lock it. So in the settings, if you hit the settings app, you'll have over here General. So if you hit General, actually you sometimes are default to General. If you scroll up, you'll see this button here, Lock Rotation. Now, and Mute. You should be defaulted on Mute. So right now when you flip this little switch, it mutes the device. Okay, I find that really useful on the phone, but not on the iPad. How often does your iPad ring like your cell phone, right? Unless if you're on FaceTime, you're not expecting unexpected rings. Or like, your Angry Birds all of a sudden decides to make noise. That doesn't happen. So a more practical use of this switch is to lock the rotation. So now I can lock it, I can unlock it quickly, rotate it, lock it again, and do stuff like that. Because under normal circumstances, if I didn't have a lock and I start moving around and it starts rotating on me because I'm changing the center of gravity, Now I can lock it and unlock it. Very useful, quick little tip. That makes your lives a lot easier. Oops, I forgot to. There we go. So that is something that people rarely ever change. And I think if you change that, it'll make your lives a lot easier. Okay, so another one I'm going to show you is a keyboard trick. So I'm going to shrink my app, come over here. So I have my notepad over here, and I can type stuff on it. Look, I'm typing at 80 words per minute. Okay, now if I wanted to create a capital O, what would I have to do? I would hit the shift key, or I would hold it down. You can't see, there we go. And then I would hit O. Okay, so that's how I create a capital. Duh, right? You know how to do that. Now, let's say I wanted to create a different way. I hold down the shift key and I move it to O. Boom, capital O. So I hate doing this, which was shift, oops, I hit the wrong button. Shift, question mark, shift, question mark, shift, question mark. Or you can double, no, you can't double tap this. So shift, exclamation point. But instead of doing that, I can go drag, 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 drag. There we go. Just like that. Just dragging the shift key over there. You can also get to special characters by holding your finger on the key. You might have accidentally done this. So when I discovered this little trick, I was like, this is annoying. I want to try something. And whoa, it worked. That's one of those like level 5 things. You're like, whoa. So that's a little trick on that. Now if you double tap the shift key, you're actually in caps lock. So now I'm in caps lock. So you can now see how I believe I can type 80 words per minute on this. Okay, so that's a quick little keyboard trick on the iPad. So level 1 was just about obvious things that I thought everyone should know. I mean, heck, I knew it, right? No, but the thing is, like, I take things for granted, and that's my problem. And I realize that not everyone is able to explore the platform like I do, or even has the mindset. Because you hand this to a kid, they might figure it out. But we're of a different generation. So that's that. Now, earlier I used the camera app as a document camera. So you can see that when you wirelessly connect it, you can use it just like a document camera. Another obvious use of that. All right, so that's level 1. So what do you think so far? Level 1. Are you guys level 1 experts now? No? Oh.
My lock rotation feature doesn't work. It's still moving.
Oh, make sure you go back and check the settings again. And the
It says it's checked.
oh no, but you have to flip the switch on the volume switch up above the volume. See it's top. Yeah, the little switch.
Hit the button.
Hit the switch. Yeah.
Hit the switch. Ah.
There we go. Now since you don't have mute anymore, if you want to mute your volume, all you have to do is just hold down your volume down key, and it automatically goes to mute. So if you volume up and volume down, doink. Doink, down. So there we go. So yeah, I guess that's another one of those obvious things I forgot to tell people. Yeah, then you have to use the little switch here. Okay, I'll make sure to remember to mention that in future presentations.
I got one more quick question.
Yes.
My taskbar on the bottom doesn't move. Does that mean I don't have a lot of apps?
That means you just don't have a lot of apps loaded. Okay. So it's like a history. So, okay. And you gotta remember those aren't active apps. It's just showing you a history of what you've tapped into.
Okay.
It does not eat up any memory, actually. No, the way that Apple manages its memory is it compartmentalizes the apps. So when you move it to another one, it actually puts it into like a hibernation sleep mode. And that's one of the beauties of the Apple device and why it doesn't use up so much power, because it has strict rules about what's running, what's not running. Okay, so now you're level 1 experts. Now you know a little switch here. I wish I had a camera I could show. It's right here above the volume key. Okay, now let's get into some multitasker apps. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is let's drink of water. Now I have to remind you, since I'm a computer guy and a programmer, I'm not used to talking for a long extended period of time. In fact, I spend most of my day silent, only talking to my computer for my keyboard. Yes, it's nice. Yeah, I can see a psychiatrist with that now. So, like, I'm actually a little out of breath, and this is actually my 6th session of this conference. So I've done 4 sessions, 4 1 hour and 10 minute sessions, plus 2 3-hour workshops on Wednesday. Whoa, I can't believe I made it to the end of the race here, and I'm still alive, barely. Anyway, enough about that. Let's go ahead and look at one of them called Dropbox. Now Dropbox, which let me go ahead and show you where it was, it looks like this. And it's a free app, and every single app I'm going to be telling you about is going to be free, unless if I tell you that there's a price. So Dropbox is a cloud storage app. So everything about these devices is trying to move everything into the cloud, because we're going to be quickly becoming an interconnected world through the internet. I know certain places aren't there yet, but it's going to be there, especially with federal mandates. That's going to put us in that position. Of course, if you're climbing a mountain, then you have other problems. Actually, I did find that out on Mount Fuji. They don't have internet on Mount Fuji. Go figure. I was a little disappointed. So this is an app that allows me to access files that I have in my Dropbox. Now, my Dropbox is actually synchronized with a folder on my computer at home. So if I put a file into the Dropbox, it gets automatically uploaded into the cloud where I can have access to it. So this is a cloud storage device. That means that it's only in the cloud and can only be accessed if you have an active internet. That's what cloud storage means. Now, if I click on one of these, so let's look at the Charlotte Pass here, it's going to try to load it from the internet. Now, because I have a setup where I'm not on the internet, because I'm just doing a local wireless setup, I can't view this page. So this is a good example of planning ahead of time. So if I wanted to view this document, I would first load it, then I would click on this button up here in the corner, and then it would actually allow me to put it into another app for offline storage. So you think of this as online, and you can move it to offline, or you can do it online and read it, and if you don't have to put it offline, then you don't need it. So it supports multiple formats, like PDF documents here. Here's an image. Let's see here, document. Let's go here. There's actually videos in here that I've uploaded. And actually, if I had the internet, I would actually show you some of these clips here, which are funny, like Big Bang Theory. So I have Big Bang Theory clips in here. And you could access it through the cloud. So if you're at school, you could actually access your Dropbox. So if you have videos in your Dropbox, then you can actually view it that way as well. It gives you 2 gigabytes for free. And it's a great service, essential for what you need. Now, another service that's also cloud-based is this one right here, Google Drive. Now, Google Drive just came out about a month and a half ago. And what it is basically like Dropbox, except it has different things that they do. So when I enable Give Google Drive, then it's another cloud storage. You can actually link it to a folder. Excuse me, lunch. And then you can have access to those files. So you can see here, here's the introduction to iPad presentation, PowerPoint, and then you could view it. They give you 5 gigs for free, so they give you more space. But it's different than Dropbox. It doesn't handle folders. It does. You can set up folders, but Dropbox does that more. And then also, the advantage of this service is that Google has a really great sharing program. So you can actually, on your PC, you can't do it here, but you can actually set this to a shared mode, and then you can actually share that link, and someone else can view this presentation, this PDF file, this image, and I don't have a video on here, but if you have those files on there. So anybody here use Google Docs? Raise your hands. Good, more people. Google Docs is amazing. So this is actually a Google spreadsheet, and this is a Google Doc. So this is a little side. Google Doc lets you have an online document, which then you can actually share with other people and have them edit. So instead of doing the age-old method of, here's a document, I'm going to email it to Sally. Sally edits it and emails it to Sam. And Sam edits it and emails it back to me, but then Sally made another edit, but she had the wrong version, and then there we go. So now it all goes with one source, and in fact, all 3 of them, or all 3 of us, can go to it simultaneously, and if Sam is typing on it, I'm actually seeing the words that he's typing right on the screen. It's awesome. So that's what cloud-based documents mean. So you can share it, you could edit it, and you can set up these various permissions. So that's Google Drive. 5 gigs for free. So I think they're competing with Dropbox, and they do things slightly differently, but they're both great. So have both if you want to. One for one use, one for another use. Use it to share documents with your students, so on and so forth. And okay, an essential app that everybody needs. This one right here, Speed Test. Now, Speed Test is a very great app because it allows you to test your networking environment prior to a presentation. So if you're in an environment where the internet's really low, at least you know about it. In this case, when I tested the internet in here, it was horrible, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go offline mode on this presentation. So right now it's trying to find the service, and what it would do is it would give you numbers as results for the speeds. So this is actually a very good speed, 6 megabit download. This actually allows you to stream videos and even HD videos. The typical speed you would get in a school network is somewhere roughly around here, 1.2. So you can do low resolution videos, some YouTube videos, and that's a pretty decent speed. Usually, you're probably about 2 to 3 is the average at school. Some get higher, you can go up to 10, and some go lower. Like this one here, 0.5, very low. So you run the speed test so you can find out how much bandwidth you have to pull on so that you can do the various things you do online. It's very important to know that. So that when you're sitting there, you're taking a while, and if you have the option to, let's say you have 3G on your phone and you're using the free hotel wireless, you test one, you test the other, the 3G actually tests out at like 5 or 6 because you can't actually, most of the time you get 3. Then you go, okay, I'm going to use my own instead of the free one that's provided by the hotel or something like that. Or if you're in your room and you walk in your room, you go, oh, it's really poor. Let me go talk to my IT person and see if we can amp that up a little. In some places, you kind of go from one room to another, and you can see the drastic change between the rooms. So you can see I run this test a lot because I want to know what my environment is for the network. Anybody here have 3G on their phones? Or not phones, on their on their iPads? Okay, a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, not very common. Okay, so that's speed test. It's a very important app to have. This next one is really useful, especially for those Wi-Fi only people. Besides using these cloud-based services like Google Drive and Dropbox where you can bring it into another app, Pocket here allows you to pocket articles. So let's say you're reading an article and you have to go and leave the destination. So what you can do is you tag it with the app, and it actually, so let's see here, let's look at this one here. This is an example of a pocketed full web version. Let me go to a pocketed, not full web version. So let's try this one. Okay, so what it does, I was reading this article, and before I got on the plane, and you can see that the article looks not like a web page. So what it does is it captures the pictures and just the text. So you're just reading the core elements of the article, and it downloads it and offline stores it on your iPad. Really useful if you're reading articles, which I'm sure you do a lot of. And I have a lot of articles in here. So this one on why I left teaching. So, and Sarah, and hybrid schools getting traction. So really cool. And then the other one actually, if you can't get an offline version, sometimes websites don't allow for that. They'll pull an online version, which was which one was it? This one. So it stores an online version of it. But it doesn't like doing that because it pulls all this random ancillary stuff, which eats up a lot of data, and it's also useless. You don't need the title and all these other extra things on the side. But the thing is, if you were online and you're reading the article, you can actually hit one of those 2 buttons, and you can flip between just article view, or just the words, and then full web view. So that's called Pocket. And you can also install an extension on your computer. So you were browsing the web, you see the article, you hit the little Pocket icon that gets installed, and it just puts it into your Pocket account, which then downloads into your iPad. So you go, oh, this is cool, I'll read it later, and then, well, I'll read that later. I'll read that on the drive home, if you have a chauffeur, of course. Don't read and drive. Texting and driving, no, that's not okay either. Okay, so that's Pocket. Okay, so that's one way to read. Now another greater way to read stuff is using this app, Goodreader. Now this is a paid-for app. It's $5 and it's expensive. Okay, $5 is really not expensive, but in the app world, $5 is expensive because you could go out there and you can buy $1 apps that do like what it does, but I'll tell you why this one is worth the $5. What Goodreader is, it's a reader that allows you to read various documents and an offline store. So I could go from Dropbox or Google Drive to Goodreader. So offline storage. It's extremely great at reading PDF documents because it allows you to pull it up and you could switch between the pages. Let me do this one here. Sloan schedule. Oh wait, this one's an Excel spreadsheet, sorry, wrong one. You can do spreadsheets, you could do BT4 online. Okay, here's so you can see you can annotate it, you could draw on it, so I could do smiley face, and then change the color. So you can annotate, but there's also an app called iAnnotate, which is $1, but it's a lot more, you have a lot more options over here on the right, but it does more than just annotate documents and view them. So over here, I'm going to click on Manage Files and pick a few files. You can actually do some more things like file management. So you can actually put these things in folders. You can actually hide them, protect them, link them to other people. You could email them really easily. And you can even zip them together into a zip file. So it does a little bit more than just reading, viewing, and annotating. It's here, done. So that's one thing. Now another one is down here. This is really useful, called Web Downloads. Now let's say you were browsing on Safari and you found this PDF document and it's really long and you wanted to keep it. You want to download on your PC, you would normally just right click on it and hit save or save. But you can't do that on iPad. So you go to the URL and you copy the address off the top, the something.pdf. It has to be .pdf. And you come over here and you hit enter URL. It puts the URL automatically in here if you already copied it, and then starts downloading it into your Goodreader. So now you have a copy of that PDF downloaded right into here, so you can see other things that I downloaded through this method. Very useful, and that's something that other apps don't do. The last one here is a server connection. So what you're seeing here is Google and Dropbox. So you can see that I've already got direct integration between Google and Dropbox. So if I click on it, I'm actually in the Google or the Dropbox account, so I don't have to actually launch the Dropbox app to get to the files. You can actually use quite a bit of different types. You can do mail server, you can do SkyDrive, which is Microsoft's thing, Box.net, which is another good app, and FTP server. So you have a lot of choices on things that you can integrate into this simple little $5 app. This is a level 2 app if you just use it for just reading. But you can see, you can do so much more with it. Now this is a level 5 implementation. Down here, you see this little wireless icon. If I click on it, and this is something that I find very unusual, why would somebody actually put something like this in the app? I love it, I really appreciate that the developers did this. Click on it, it pops up on the screen, and here we see a number. This is what we call an IP address. So if you're on wireless and someone else is on the same wireless, clicking on that, I just turned this into a wireless document server. So anybody with that address can actually go into the file structure here, and I can say, hey, I want you to download this PDF document. So they type that in, they tap on the document, it gets downloaded onto their device, and then you can stop it. So isn't that cool? A document server. So now, let's say you're at school and you have a document out here that you want to share with your class, and you have a room of iPads. Let's just use our dreams here. And then you go, okay, everyone, you didn't have a chance to pre-email or pre-do it some other way. You could do it on the fly like this. Or if you meet somebody at Starbucks and you're having a meeting, you do it through this method as well if you're on their wireless network. So remember, we're going away from the dependency of using USB drives and memory card swapping. We're trying to use cloud services to do that. Obviously, there's all other ways to do it, like you could attach a file and email it, but this is really convenient. So that's Goodreader, a really useful tool, and probably not the most expensive app that I'm showing you today, but a very multi-use versatile tool. Okay, so that's Goodreader. How are we doing on time? It's 2:25, and I have till? Huh? As long as I want. Okay, no, I mean, there's somebody else coming in after me, isn't there? I don't know. Oh, I have 5 more minutes left? That can't be. That's, wow. This went a lot faster than I thought. I never even got to level 3. Okay, so that's Goodreader. Now, those are the most essential ones I want to show you. Two more education-specific ones. Actually, one is called Evernote. I want you to look that up. Very useful for storing notes and things like that. Very extremely useful for your phone because what it does really well is you can take a snap of a sign and later on you can do a search and it actually searches the words on the sign or some like panel or a page on a book or something like that. It even can recognize hand-scrawled images. So if you're handwriting something and you snap it and you search for that same word, it'll actually find that image based on that. Really cool. Two education-specific ones that I want to tell you about is this one here. It's called Socrative. Socrative is actually a tool that allows you to be able to make these devices into interactive clickers. So it's not dependent on just the iPad. You can actually download an Android version. You can even use the web. So somebody on the laptop, they can actually interface it. What it does is it sets you up in a classroom, and the students would type a number in, and then you can ask questions. You can do a series of questions, and then people would interact with it, and you can see the values change live on the device. Unfortunately, I can't access it because I'm not on the network. So it's designed to replace the text clickers. Now this one here is really cool. This one's called Edu Creations. So actually, let me show you here. Edu Creations. And anybody here watch Khan Academy videos, right? A few of you. So you know on Khan Academy, that he actually uses a digitizing pen and he draws out what he needs and then he records it as his lecture. So this is the same concept but on tablet. So now I can say, 2 plus 2 equals 8. No, actually that's not right because 2 plus 2 is not equal to 8 because of the parabolic arc factor of the boson theory, no. Anyway, so as you're doing this, it's recording your voice and seeing what you're sketching, and then it plays it back real time, which then you can export, or you can upload it to their cloud and have other people view it as a presentation as well. And that is free as well. So in the final few minutes, I want to talk about level 3, so I can at least get you familiar with the concept of web apps. Now, web apps are very important because it uses HTML5 as the primary basis of getting people into a site. The most common web app form that you guys are all probably used to using is email. So if you've ever used AOL email, you've used the web app because it's basically going to a website, logging in, and accessing content. There's actually 3 services that are really great that I want to point out. Well, one of them is called Trello, so just write it down, Trello. Trello is this project management tool that allows you to be able to do a lot of really amazing things with managing multiple people. Oops, I have it in this site here. Unfortunately, I lost the cache. Let's see if I can reload it. So that's, okay, so that points out the downside with web apps. You have to have internet connection for them to work. So web apps are actually designed for the future. So taking into the environment that you will have the internet, you will have that capability to be able to take advantage of it. It allows you to be able to do two-way communication back and forth between your web page and the cloud server. So the biggest advantage of that is that the information is stored in the cloud. The downside is that you have to have the internet connection. So with a regular app, it's all stored on your device, and sometimes you can't transport the information over. So Trello is one of those web apps that you should take a look at. Another one I can show you, is I actually took some pictures of it, is the platform that I showed you. This one's the KP Compass platform, so which is what you guys are logged into. So this is a web app that's actually designed for students to interact with, and when they go through the content, they would take a test on the content that's in here. And based on how they test, I tell them which areas they need to go back and study because they didn't do very well. And the tests are actually built randomly based on the information that's in these fields. So random selection of questions are taken, and then they answer the questions. Now, if they get a question wrong, they get told, like, red dot, you're a novice. You did not do well with that. Let me see, where's the red dot? Coming up here, red dot. So the key with that is that we never tell them what question they got wrong. And one of the things that I'm offering everyone here, this is actually a private service. Right now we haven't opened it up to the public, but everybody who's here today, who's signed on to the site, I've got your email address because you're my student now. I'm going to transform your account from a student account to a teacher account, so you can actually come in here and put content in from various sources to be able to create this mastery system. So the biggest difference with this web app versus, like, let's say Moodle or Blackboard is that we actually focus on content mastery. So we're giving the students feedback on where they need to study through a mastery system that's more rigorous than the typical system. So just for example, like this is an example of your teacher view. So you can see your students, what knowledge levels there are, how many times they've taken the formative assessment, and then students who are in need of extra help or tutoring. So this is just a quick little show and tell of like a view that you could use once you get content into the system. There are a variety of ways to do that. Yeah, you pull it from Google Docs, you can pull it from Dropbox, you can pull it from websites, from various sources to be able to create that. And the only other piece that you have to do is to add questions in it, such as, let's see here, not that one, such as here. This is an example of a test page. So that's one page of text, and here's a series of questions from that page. Now, when the students get to it, they don't get all the questions, because what it's doing is pulling questions from each page and then builds that test dynamically. And again, if they get it wrong, they have to retest again, and another random selection of questions are selected from pages they did not master. Now, if they did master it, they don't have to test on it again, because we're assuming that if they get all the questions that were randomly selected, somewhere between 3 and 5, then they've demonstrated mastery and proficiency. Now, if they don't, they can go back. They're told you need to focus on these pages, such as these reds here are all really bad. Then they know exactly what they need to look at. So this is a web app because it allows you to have that interaction, and the interaction is going back and forth between the server. So it's always live. That means that any kid can pick up this iPad, that phone, that Android device. I'm just assuming you have an Android device. Or even a laptop, and they can log in, they can do their stuff, and they can log out and move on to the next device. So some of the information that you'll find in that class is also about implementation strategies, other people's success stories, other people's failures. Because I pulled together a few blogs and articles. In fact, there's one resource that you'll find called Kathy Schrott's Guide to Everything, and she lists over 100 articles and links to various sources. And that's where you could go and find that specific tool that you need for your solution. So let's go here. So that's, what time do we have now? Am I out of time? Okay, well then let me just go ahead and go into conclusion. You'll find other resources on the class site that I gave you, which will also lead you to more level 3. But the point about level 3 is that it's the future, because we're talking about an interconnected world. Remember, everything that we're doing here is to create a tool to not only engage our students, but with the level 3 apps, there's to create accountability and responsibility for the kids so they can take their education into their own hands. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you letting me take you through this whirlwind about iPads and technology. I wanted to change your mind, and I hope I did, about how you can make these things more comfortable and more useful in the classroom. Thank you.